Do you think that fat people should have to pay for 2 plane tickets?
No, just instead of flying, they should probably save the money and go to the gym.
I'm not sure why this is a topic worth discussing with random people on the street, but I guess this is what happens when you're too ignorant to ask questions with actual substance. Just because y'all see an overweight person doesn't mean that they're not already in the gym 5 days a week, battling depression, health issues, or finally starting a journey that took them years to build up the courage for. But even if they weren't doing all that, they are still human beings who have every right to exist in public spaces without being shamed. Why are we acting like overweight people don't have real jobs, families, obligations, or real reasons to travel? Not only that, but people who require more space already pay for extra seats. It's literally no different than tall people who pay for extra legroom, but you don't hear people going around asking if they deserve to fly. I just don't understand why we made it socially acceptable to strip overweight people of their humanity and to act like they're a burden instead of a person. But I guess this is what happens when you hand a microphone to someone who's never read a book and give a platform to people who mistake cruelty for honesty.
Not having kids is not a flex. If you are single, unmarried, and without child, you are responsible. But a flex, it is not. Childlessness cannot be a flex.
I love the part where you admitted it's responsible, but then turned around and said it's not a flex. Since when is being responsible, intentional, and self-aware not a flex? I genuinely can't think of a bigger flex than having a friend hit me up with last-minute plans and me being able to say, give me 30 to get ready, because I don't have to check if I have the kids this weekend. I can sleep in, book a spontaneous flight, spend my money on myself, and move through life without asking anyone for permission. Every dollar, every hour is mine, and that's not just a flex, it's a fucking luxury. It's honestly kind of wild that people like you act like childlessness is a moral failure when there's literally people out there who don't even have the option to have kids, but go off trying to make fulfillment a one-size-fits-all situation. Some of us actually paused and asked ourselves what we wanted out of life instead of blindly following a script. Spoiler alert, we chose freedom, peace, and autonomy. That is the most grown, intentional, and flex-worthy decision I've ever made, and I'm sorry if that rattles you. Mormon TikTok is actually hilarious. Like, do you really think you're shutting down the allegations by saying things like, this cult allows me to be with my husband and kids for eternity? That is literally the most cult-like thing you could possibly say. Do you genuinely not hear how insane that sounds? You've got a living prophet you're not allowed to question, you wear sacred underwear, you're told to avoid people who challenge the church, you can't even enter the temples unless you're deemed worthy, and you're literally doing secret baptisms for dead people. And let's not ignore the deeper stuff, like how black people weren't allowed into the priesthood until 1978. That's not ancient history, that is disgustingly recent. And let's not pretend that whole multiply and replenish the earth thing is about family. It's about maintaining a very white, very controlled ideal of what a godly family looks like. It's white supremacy disguised as cottagecore. If any other group had these same beliefs and practices, you would call it a cult without hesitation. But because you grew up in it, or maybe the marketing is soft and feminine, suddenly it's just misunderstood, right?
If a woman tells me no, should I act like an illegal immigrant and do it anyway?
I feel like now is as good a time as any to say that as a single woman living in Scottsdale, I am far more afraid of men like you standing within 3 feet of my drink than I am of any undocumented immigrant who's literally just trying to make an honest living. But something tells me if you genuinely think immigration and consent are the same thing, you probably didn't know much about consent to begin with, which may or may not be your fault. I mean, based on that little gotcha moment you tried to have, it doesn't really seem like you've been given the green light much in your life. So I would maybe sit this one out, because the mental leap it takes to equate crossing a border to violating someone's bodily autonomy is embarrassing, but not surprising. This is the same group of people that think wearing a mask is tyranny, but forcing childbirth isn't. So critical thinking has never really been your strong suit.
I was dreaming of mass deportations last night, as one does.
Actually, no, most of us don't have so much hate in our heart that it seeps into our subconscious, and we dream about normal things like being late to work, or our car breaking down, or the apocalypse. Let's not pretend you dream about deportations because you care so much about policy. You dream about deportations because cruelty is the only thing that makes you feel relevant. I would love to give you some advice. Genuinely. Because I would honestly rather see you make it in Hollywood than keep wasting your platform spewing hate towards groups of people who are, well, let's be real, more hardworking, more intelligent, and far more deserving than you. A lot of people actually build careers by being decent human beings and by giving back. By not using immigrant families as content. Maybe try that for once. I promise you, this whole racist white girl with a superiority complex thing is tired, and it's been done before. It probably isn't the reason Hollywood passed on you, but it sure as shit isn't helping. It's not getting you blacklisted, but it is getting you ignored. Which is probably why you're on TikTok every day screaming into the void, hoping rage bait will make up for the fact that nobody ever called you back.
Last night, tens of thousands of people, single moms, single dads, families, tucked their kids into shelter beds, cots, while Zohran Mamdani was nice and cozy in his Astoria apartment. And this is the same guy that gets up on a podium and lectures everybody about housing justice. Zohran, if you even believed in your own words, you'd hand your keys over to a family sleeping in a shelter tonight. But hey, it's always easier to talk about a crisis than to give up your own comfort, isn't it? Leaders lead by example, so when's moving day?
So by your logic, the only way to advocate for housing justice is to become homeless? That's like saying you can't fight hunger unless you're actively starving, or you can't work on healthcare unless you give up access to your own doctor. Leaders lead by example by fixing the system, not making themselves another person in need. There is nothing hypocritical about having a roof over your head while fighting for others to have one too. So what exactly is so disagreeable about affordable housing? Because that sounds like the real hypocrisy here.
I don't even care what happens between Israel and Palestine anymore. I just want everyone to shut the fuck up.
Since October 7th alone, over 60,000 Palestinians have been killed. Entire bloodlines have been erased. Children are being pulled from rubble, and parents are walking around with their children's body parts in plastic shopping bags. People are starving, displaced, with no clean water, no electricity, and no safety. And yet here you are, standing in your pool, and you get to complain that hearing about it is annoying. And that's the thing about privilege, is you get to decide when other people's mass suffering is too inconvenient for you to acknowledge. You can tune it out because it's not your home being bombed into dust, it's not your family being buried in makeshift graves, and it's not your kids screaming in terror. You'll never have to choose between staying in the rubble in your own neighborhood or fleeing to somewhere even more dangerous. For you, it's just noise on your feed that you can mute when you've had enough, and for them, it's every second of every day. The genocide doesn't stop because you're tired of hearing about it from the comfort of your pool. Another Arizona child is dead, and the system that was supposed to protect her failed her again. 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste was found unresponsive in rural northern Arizona on July 27th, my birthday, and then died 3 days later at Phoenix Children's Hospital. Her father and his partner are now facing murder and child abuse charges, but the Arizona Department of Child Safety had been in and out of her life for years, and her school reported suspected abuse, and nothing changed. Just 8 months ago, Emily Pike's death was yet another example of how Arizona keeps failing its children. Different names, same story. As someone born and raised here, and as a product of the system myself, this is personal to me. I have seen how warnings get ignored, cases get closed without follow-up, and kids are left in dangerous situations until it's too late. Rebecca deserved better, Emily deserved better, and so many others whose names we'll never hear about deserved better. If Arizona keeps letting these kids slip through the cracks, it's not just negligence, it's complicity. Rebecca was a light, and the system let that light be extinguished. Demand better from your lawmakers and speak up. Silence is how the system gets away with this.
I'm going to say this and then I'm through talking about it. You talk about Palestinians on this app, nobody even sees your video. And I thought TikTok was being rude. No, TikTok was hip to something. TikTok was on game before we were. See, us as black and brown women, we show up to blindly support any other person of color. Whole time, they hate us. So that's one thing TikTok got right. You talk about Palestinians, your video ain't gonna go nowhere. And I appreciate TikTok doing that because we had no idea. We screaming at the camera, supporting them whole time they hate us. Good job, TikTok.
I want to start by acknowledging that as a white presenting half Mexican person, I am not going to tell a black woman how to feel about her lived experiences with racism and solidarity. Your frustration is yours to own. But this take erases a long documented history of Palestinians standing in solidarity with black people and their movements and vice versa. From the civil rights era to Ferguson, their struggles have been deeply connected, rooted in shared experiences of state violence, displacement, and systemic oppression. Let's not forget that during Ferguson, Palestinians were literally sharing protest tips and tear gas remedies with Black activists. So this claim that Palestinians hate Black people as a collective is completely inaccurate. This feeds into division at a time where people are being massacred right in front of us. We can talk about the hurt you've felt in specific interactions without erasing the global historical truth that Black and Palestinian liberation movements have long stood shoulder to shoulder. I can't emphasize enough how grateful I am for all of you guys and the unwavering support I have received from the online community, but today I am asking if we can extend that same support to my brother. My brother Danny obviously had the same upbringing as me, but baseball was his escape. He won a state championship at Palo Verde High School, played junior college at Eastern Arizona, transferred to Eastern New Mexico, and even played professionally in Canada for the Regina Red Sox. But what makes my brother special isn't what he's accomplished on the field, it's the way that he shows up for kids off the field. For the past couple years, my brother has been coaching in Tucson, and his clients aren't just numbers on a roster. He goes to their little league games, he goes to their high school games, he cheers them on from the stands. He builds their confidence as much as their skill. So recently, he was let go from his coaching job as an instructor at DBAT Tucson, and his clients were handed off to other instructors, and they were told that he quit, which was not at all true. But those families know the difference. Some of them have already canceled their memberships because they only want to work with my brother. So now Danny is going independent and offering private lessons at parks, batting cages, or anywhere kids can learn and grow. If you are in Tucson or know families there, I would love for you to help me spread the word. Share this video, tag a friend, or if you have a kid who loves baseball or softball and wants a coach who will truly invest in them. Thank you for always showing up for me, and I know with your help, we can make sure Tucson knows exactly who Coach Danny is.